While Baki is a fighting anime for the most part, it also has a few compelling romantic subplots that give the series a more grounded feel rather than just being a shonen fight series for the sake of being one. Baki the Grappler showed us the twisted love story of Baki's mom, Emi, and his dad, Yujiro Hanma. Netflix's Baki focused on Baki's own relationship with Kozue, throwing Muhammad Ali Jr. into the mix for good measure and turning things into an unexpected love triangle. Baki Hanma had a romance subplot too in a way, though it comes from the most bizarre of sources. Biscuit Oliva. The world's strongest convict has been a fan favorite ever since he debuted towards the end of 2018 Baki's first season, but up until the release of Baki Hanma, you wouldn't have guessed that the guy was in a committed relationship, let alone one as complicated and confusing as the one he does have. It's the most heartbreaking love story of Baki. This is Biscuit Oliva and Maria's relationship. Explain. Mr. Unchained's Invisible Leash, the introduction of Biscuit Oliva's lover in Baki Hanma. For most people watching this video, Biscuit Oliva is Mr. Unchained, the only VIP convict in the United States who actually works as a government contracted assassin. But in Baki Hanma, we see another side of Biscuit Oliva, where Mr. Unchained turns into a lover on a leash. We've all seen the absurdly lavish living conditions of the strongest man in America. Biscuit Oliva lives more extravagantly than most modern rappers do. The hallway leading to his living quarters within the Arizona State Prison are littered with classical decor, art, and sculptures, and inside is basically a billionaire's mansion stuck inside of a state penitentiary. Biscuit Oliva's living quarters are stacked with books, wines, and Cubans galore. He was inspired by the Cuban bodybuilding legend Sergio Oliva, after all. He has a private chef who cooks him 10,000 calorie meals on a regular basis, and we're not talking about cheap bulking over here either. He has every amenity accessible to him that a convict can only dream of having, which is why he's called Mr. Unchained. His brute strength alone is enough to classify him as a national level threat. He's one of 3 people in the world that are under constant satellite surveillance. The others include Yujiro Hanma himself. He has demonstrated time and time again that techniques can and will fail against his brute strength, which at the time Baki Hanma began was second only to Yujiro. But because of all these points and the fact that they'd had a couple of scuffles here and there during the most dangerous convicts arc, Baki was eager to challenge Biscuit Oliva in order to test his own progress in his quest to defeat his dad. He ended up kidnapping the president of the US, George Bush, and requested that he be transferred to Arizona State Prison in the hopes of provoking Biscuit Oliva into a fight. Baki pretty much expected everything he saw in Arizona State Prison: the harsh treatment, the days in solitary, even John Guevara to an extent. What he did not expect was Biscuit Oliva also keeping his girlfriend in the prison, because to him, everything but that was understandable somehow. Our introduction to his girlfriend was gradual. We see Biscuit Oliva preparing for date night, perfuming himself, getting the flowers ready, and walking down a bright white corridor that's a stark contrast to his usual blood red decor. Once Oliva gets inside the white room, he puts the flowers down and turns into an apologist for some reason, profusely apologizing for his behavior and addressing his words to the bed in front of him. We get glimpses of his girlfriend, whom he continually keeps praising as the most beautiful woman in the world, but we don't see her outright. We do hear her cuss him out though, and we think to ourselves, we didn't expect Biscuit Oliva to have a humiliation kink of all things. But then, he announces that for his fight against John Guevara, he's going to have his girlfriend in attendance in the audience, and we see him lug the entire bed he was addressing in an earlier episode into the prison yard. The moment we saw that, we immediately knew that the reason for her incapacitation was going to be either downright offensive or downright tragic. We didn't expect it to be both. When Biscuit Oliva put down the bed he had brought to the prison yard, we saw that the supposed most beautiful woman in the world with an attitude hot enough to burn the sun was actually a morbidly obese woman called Maria. This turns the entire reveal into a bit of a comedic situation, given the obvious disparity between what Oliva describes his lover as and what she actually looks like. But turns out, that's sort of by design. Many people think Biscuit Oliva just likes being treated disrespectfully by his girlfriend because the few moments where she calls him darling and shows her true affection for him are enough for him. But that's not true. There's a reason why their relationship is the most heartbreaking love story in all of Baki, and sadly, that reason is something neither of them could have controlled. A rare physical condition whose medication left her bloated out the gills. The real reason behind Maria's obesity and attitude in Baki Hanma. We don't know a lot about the backstories of many side characters in Baki, and it usually works out because they're mostly supposed to be iconic characters anyway. But the one we would really want to know more about is Maria. That's because we only get a brief mention of the reason why she appears so morbidly obese, and it's a blink and you'll miss it if you aren't paying attention to the fight between Biscuit Oliva and John Guevara. See, Maria used to be a beautiful and slender woman when she first met Biscuit Oliva. She was most likely a supermodel or something given her demeanor and attitude, but at some point after meeting Oliva, Maria developed some kind of disease. She took medication for it, but ended up bloating to the length and width of a king-sized bed because of it, and now she spends most of her time bedridden, smoking cigarettes, and berating Biscuit when she's not in the mood for fun and games. This illness is pretty much unknown because the story doesn't really focus on Maria so much, but it must have been something very serious because the anime shows us pills, injections, and the whole 9 yards of medication. It's possible that her body had some sort of reaction to the medication, which is especially true if they were steroids, but she could also be suffering from something like PCOS or hyperthyroidism, which would cause her to bloat up in a similar fashion as well. Of course, Baki is a piece of fiction, so everything is exaggerated, as is Maria's reaction to her medication, but that's also the reason why her relationship with Biscuit Oliva is so heartbreaking and beautiful. Maria has no delusions about her appearance. She knows she isn't as beautiful as she used to be before. And the reason why she belittles Biscuit Oliva is because he insists on treating her as if she had not changed at all. However, to Biscuit, that feeling is very much the truth and also the basis of his strength, because to him, no matter how she looks, Maria is his one and only. Even at the size of a massive professional sumo wrestler, in Biscuit Oliva's eyes, Maria was still as beautiful as the day they met, and that tells you just how much he loves her. And despite her superficial apathy to his over-enthusiastic adoration of her, when it comes down to it, Maria loves him just as much. When Biscuit Oliva fights Baki, Maria senses his defeat and rushes to him, a feat that would usually be impossible for someone of her size. She does this not to mock Oliva, but out of genuine love and affection and concern for him. Earlier in the series, Baki had cuddled up next to her during Oliva's fight against John Guevara, and that was apparently the only time that she felt nice about herself in all of her on-screen appearances. That's because Baki treated her as she was, and not as some idealized version of her. To Maria, she appreciated that reality a little more, and though she knows why Oliva treats her the way she does, she would like him to be a bit more realistic in their relationship as well. Towards the end of Baki Hanma Season 1, it appears as though that's exactly what happens, because despite walking all the way from her inner sanctum to the general cell area of the prison, she only gently commands Biscuit to carry her back to her room, and appears to be more settled emotionally than she was at her first appearance. Biscuit Oliva's relationship with Maria is one of the greatest examples of strength coming from love in Baki, because Oliva has, on multiple occasions, stated that the real reason behind his strength isn't his brute power, it's actually love. His love for Maria is what actually fuels his fists, and his treatment of her, despite her appearance post-illness, is a testament to his character, if nothing else. He knows very well how she looks now. He still chooses to treat her as the woman he met all those years ago, as one of the most beautiful women in the world. Their interactions make it seem like Oliva is subservient to Maria for some absurd reason, but once you take into consideration everything they've been through together, you start to understand the heartbreaking beauty and tragedy of their relationship. Biscuit Oliva and Maria are the best couple in all of Baki, and we don't care what you guys think about them, Maria especially. Marvelous video. But as for this video, that's gonna have to be it. What do you guys think about the relationship between Biscuit Oliva and Maria? Are you guys liking the Baki content on our channel so far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're gonna be coming at you with more Baki content over the next few weeks, so we suggest you turn that notification bell to always, and we'll see you guys in the next one.